Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Tomes and Tunes. This is episode 25. I am Arielle Silver, your host, and this is my weekly show, week 25 of this weekly show, where I have been inviting guest songwriters in to join me. We talk about our other favorite subject, books, and we do a little song swap at the end of the show. And I am very happy to welcome a woman who I met during this COVID time. She lives on the East Coast. I live in Los Angeles on the West Coast, and we've become friendly over the many months and connecting through music and also through some other things. And she is just wonderful and a wonderful songwriter. I learned that later after I had met her. Her name is Sharman Nittoli, and I'm very excited to bring her on the show right now. Here we go. Hi, Sharman.
Hello. Hi.
So nice
So
to
glad to
have
be
you.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have been meeting pretty frequently to talk about music and also to do some meditation and kind of
Yeah.
center ourselves in this really interesting and kind of dizzying, I guess is the word I'm looking for, dizzying year.
True.
Yeah.
It is that. Yeah.
Um, So you have, I've been following your music career a little bit, not just in the time that we've known each other, but going
Uh,
back in time over the course. And you have had a really amazing, inspiring music career. The I just have to get it out of the way because it's on my mind. But you had that song, "Here's to the Band," cut by Frank Sinatra and Liza Minnelli and Sammy Davis Jr. And that is just a super intriguing story. I'm curious if you could tell a little bit about where that song came from, or how it ended up getting into their hands. It's a phenomenal song.
Somebody once told me that the movie could be uh, getting the song to Sinatra. Because when I look back on it, I realize, as you know, if you write a song and you think it's great and this would be perfect for, but getting it there, that's a whole nother thing. So for me and my husband, we're big on titles. Titles really fuel the whole content of the song, and he's very good with coming up with unique concepts for songs. Um, I have to say that I was classically trained, but then I was a folk singer, protest songs and all that. I didn't have nothing to do with Frank Sinatra.
I always think of you as a jazz player. I didn't realize that you were, and
Not
I
at
also know you had some rock in you as well.
I did, and
Yeah, but
and
I
I
didn't know
was
about the folk.
no at that time I was playing. We were playing protest songs all the time. I had nothing to do with Sinatra. My husband came up with this concept saying that artists like Sinatra, Tony Bennett, some of these big Jimmy Bobby Darin and people like that always will say, "Here's a wonderful song arranged by Nelson Riddle or Billy May," and that type of thing. But they never turn around and thank the band.
Hmm.
They might talk about the solo player, but they never turn around. And they always had the best musicians, the top players. So that's where the concept for the song came from. We wrote a song, and at the time we were just starting out working together. And Arielle, just working together and the give and take. That's a whole other thing in itself. You got that back and forth thing. But we wrote a song called "Here's to the Musicians," and we liked it, but we felt like it was missing its mark. So Alfred has a very good friend named is Artie Schreck, excellent top of the line musician and writer, lived nearby. So we took it to Artie, and the song was developed called "Here's to the Band,"
Hmm.
in the style of New York, New York, with the slow beginning and then kicking into a swing thing. So we wrote the song. We knew a lot of people. Artie knew a lot of people. We were this close so many times to getting it, and then it didn't happen. And then at one point, his musical arranger said, "Well, Frank is carrying it around with him," and we were like, "What does that mean?" It's like it's in his book.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Is it going to come out of his book? And so and I remember taking a trip out to L.A. and just being this uncharacteristically aggressive person to meet his publisher, Sarge Weiss. We hit it off. We became, he's calling me every day. And I'm like, yeah, I'm there. Little do I know that he doesn't use Sarge Weiss anymore because Sarge is aging out and he was just being kind. So Sarge had no pull. So then we get the song back in the mail, when the package came, and it's just sitting there looking at us, and I'm like, I don't even want to open it. I don't even want to look at it. But it was a rejection letter, which my husband framed and put on the wall that says, the unfortunately, thank you so much, but unfortunately, and we still pushed. Eventually, someone who knew someone got it to a publisher who was friends with Nancy Sinatra. And Nancy, I heard, literally said to her father, hey, Dad, why aren't you doing this song? And he said, yeah, I probably should. So 2 weeks later, he was doing the song, recording it, started to perform it on the road, and was being produced by, oh God, I can't, a really wonderful producer. And I'm aging out here, I can't remember, who sadly had a heart attack at the session and passed away. Scrapped the whole thing, went home. Then another month later, we went back and he recorded it and produced it himself. And it had life. It moved on. We were there was talk of it being the title song of an album. And then the album concept came out for LA Is My Lady, so it never became the title concept, but it did go on his reprise collection, and we had the pleasure of meeting him several times and hearing him perform it. Yeah.
You know what's so wonderful about that song is that it is such a wonderful song. It's just it's a phenomenal song, so I'm not surprised that it was cut by him. It's so fitting for him. It's a great story that you just told. But the song itself, I think for any musician out there listening, when they hear that song, it just hits them right in the heart because it is exactly what you just said, which is that, the soloists get thanked or, there's so many people behind the scenes, especially when you're talking about big bands, when you're talking about big productions like that, there's so many people that contribute to how magnificent the whole is. And those people are so rarely recognized. And songwriters, the songwriters behind the scenes are also part of that group, very rarely recognized. But that song, Here's to the Band, it's almost bewildering that that there aren't more songs like that. That there aren't more songs that are saying thank you for supporting me,
Yeah, because he had phenomenal arrangements, and
Yes.
they had to be top level players in order to articulate the arrangements, besides being a wonderful soloist. But the
Yeah.
reading was very complex, and that's something. It's something they take for granted. So, well, a lot of musicians would come up and thank us for it, and the union thanked us for it, and it was an amazing journey. It really was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how much
So,
can you remember how much time went by from when you first wrote that other song, Here's to the Musicians,
oh,
that
yeah.
became that song,
Oh,
until it was finally cut by Frank Sinatra? Do you know how long that whole process from inception through the ups and downs, the rejection letter, unfortunately, to the hey Dad, you should really cut this from Nancy to him actually doing it?
I'm gonna say a year and a half, maybe two
Oh,
years. Yeah,
okay.
it moved pretty
Yeah,
fast.
that's pretty fast.
Yeah, um, yeah, it moved pretty fast. It's just a real. I was so focused. We just went for it. If you don't get in this way, you do a flank attack, or you do this, or you do that. Um, Even when they say no, no doesn't mean no. It only means not right now. But sometimes you have to find that door,
Yeah.
and literally pry it open. But yeah, it was about 2 years, a year and a half or so. Yeah.
I want to repeat what you just said that for anybody who needs to hear it, a lot of times no is not no, it's just not right now. It's such an important thing. when it comes to the the experience of rejection, to hold that.
Yeah. And the experience of rejection is a big thing in life to handle, but absolutely for the artist to handle. The experience of rejection, saying, yes, I may need work and I may need improvement, but it didn't happen, may not have everything, it may not be my fault, my inadequacy. It may not, and there's so many stories about songs that were submitted to some of these great singers. I mean, a story about Frank Sinatra got, I left my heart in San Francisco, and he said, that's not for me. he said, he said, I don't want to sing any more songs about cities. so, Tony, it's funny, right? So, how did the writer feel? I don't know. I don't know if he took it personally, but you learn how to process it. Is it my fault? Probably not.
Yeah, yeah.
Probably not.
This, you just reminded me of a story. This woman I know,
Mm.
songwriter from Boston, Thea Hopkins. She told a story years and years ago that I have carried with me ever since, which is that she submitted a song of hers to one of those big songwriting contests, and she didn't win. However, one of the judges on the panel was Peter Yarrow from Peter Paul and Mary,
Yeah.
and she didn't win the contest, but he reached out to her after to say, hey, I we love the song and we think this would be a great song for Peter Paul and Mary, so can we cut this? So
Yeah.
I always remembered that, because the idea of, our job is to, as songwriters or artists of any kind, is to create the work that we need to create and put
Yeah.
it out in the world and be the best advocates we can be for that work. But
Yeah.
the way that the world or the universe or the person, or however you want to describe it, but the answer that comes back might not be in the form that we're expecting it to be in. um,
But I think that this is a great time for the indie artists to be able to do just what you said.
mm,
Because, back in the day, if you were pitching a song, you really might just go in and bang it out on piano. Didn't matter what the feel was. That's the way you might audition with the song. And then it went through a period of time where it had to be a finished demo, not even a demo, it had to be finished. And most likely they were going to actually take your whole arrangement. I knew the woman that wrote the song Dress You Up in My Love for Madonna. I heard the demo, and when I tell you the finished product was the same thing, but that arranger, he didn't get credit for it. He got paid to do the demo, but that's what they wanted. They didn't have the ears to see the potential of the song.
mm,
Now I feel to be able to just play the piano and sing, or play the guitar and sing, I think it's a beautiful thing.
hmm.
There's a freedom in it where you don't have to say, oh, but I need drums, I need bass. No, you really don't. But then but you need the song. The song has to stand on its own.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one of my favorite teachers always said that, all the time. It has to stand on its own, no matter what the genre is, no matter what the style is, no matter what the instrumentation, the arrangement. When
Yeah.
it's stripped down and just at the piano or the guitar, it should stand up as a song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know somebody. What's that one? So somebody. Let's do it anyway. You wanna do it? Do it any way you want to do it. Do it anyway. Now I heard that when they went in to pitch that, and that is the song. What you just heard. That's all they played. Somebody said, "I love that. That's catchy. Let's cut it." And it stood up as a song. Just that little figure, that,
Yeah.
and not much to it, but it worked. yeah.
I love this. It's so encouraging. It's so funny to talk about rejection and to find that that rejection is actually an encouraging conversation. I have a group of friends who are all literary writers, and they're the whole idea behind this group of they're all women and they're all writers, and they get together, and the point is to encourage each other just to put their writing out into the world, to send it out to those magazines, to those
Yeah.
anthologies, to those publishers. Just throw it out, throw it out, throw it out. Hone your craft. It's not, the
Yeah.
next step after you have developed your craft, or after you've written your song or your essay or whatever.
Mm.
But don't take a rejection as a personal thing, just to, almost to collect rejection letters as like, oh
Oh,
yeah, I
we
got
do.
a, like, as an exciting
Yeah.
thing, like, oh, I got
Yeah.
another rejection letter. That means I'm in the game. That means I'm doing the
Yeah.
work.
We have gotten some really nice rejection letters where they really put a lot of thought, but my husband will go, here it is, here it is. That being
Unfortunately.
said, that being said, unfortunately, so we decided we were going to make a wallpaper for the bathroom of all rejection, because just to prove that you rise above, you continue, because like you said,
Hmm.
it's about it's about being true to the artist in you and saying what you have to say and getting it out there and standing on it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm thinking too now, as you're talking about the idea that as artists, and we have so many parts of ourselves, so many things that
Yeah.
we have to do. A fellow songwriter said something to me recently. She said, you know, I don't work, I play music. And I thought, oh, that's not true for me. Like, I play music sometimes, but I also sit at my computer and write a lot of emails. There's a lot of, like, a lot of
There's the work.
spreadsheets, a lot of emails, a lot of website updates. It's a lot of administrative work. It's not all, playing music. And
Yeah.
so what you're saying right now is making me think that there's the one part of us that's the artist or the creator, but then there's the
Yeah.
other part. I'm really liking that word advocate, the other part that's the advocate for the artist part of us, or for the
Right.
art that has been created, because that art doesn't have legs. It's not a, if you build it they will come, because if they haven't heard about it they don't know to show up. So it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
your job is to build it and then
Yeah.
put it on some wheels and,
Yeah.
scoot it out the door.
And I have a hard time sometimes balancing that, because when I get away from the music too much, I feel it. I don't want to be all wrapped in the marketing of the song and saying, oh God, there's a new thing over there. What the heck is Twitch? Am I supposed to be on Twitch? I have to stop myself and say, okay, I know this, I know this, I know this, and that takes enough time. I don't have to do it all, because there are some wonderful opportunities to learn how to market your music. But I just have to make sure in my days I'm getting back to my music,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
was doing a lot. I was practicing 20, 25 minutes a day, and I have gotten away from that. And,
Mm.
I feel that. I have to have that be part of my day. So
Yeah.
I'm always trying to work out the schedule that feels right.
Yeah.
That services what I need to express.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like Thanksgiving table. We have this sense that, oh, Thanksgiving only shows up once a year, and so we have to have the pecan pie and the pumpkin pie and the apple pie and
Yeah.
all the other things that are
Yeah.
offered.
Oh.
And it doesn't, I mean, at some point, are we even tasting and enjoying when we're feeling sick from having eaten literally everything
So
that's there?
much.
We
Yeah.
don't we don't need to. I think you and I were just talking about this actually earlier this week, that idea
Yeah.
of enough, like, realizing that at any given moment, you know, we have enough, or to focus on what will be enough, rather than saying, oh, I need to, um, you mentioned Twitch, but for in my mind, I
Oh
was
my.
thinking TikTok. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
do we, as musicians and as advocates for our music, do we need to go to, especially as indie artists who have limited resources? We have ourselves and, whatever small team we might have, but
Mm.
there are only so many hours of the day. There's only so much energy that we have. And at the root of it, we need to devote ourselves to that 25 minutes of practice or that writing of the song. And
Yeah. Yeah.
then we have to decide, okay, well, I want to enjoy this pecan pie, so I'm not going to have the apple and the pumpkin right now.
I want to taste it, really taste it, and also sometimes to choose to do those things that are going to actually fuel you, give you that impetus, give you that. Uh, so all I can say is feed your soul so that you can move on and do the next. So if it is marketing, that's fine. But there are times that I'll like go, 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 and it'll be 11 o'clock, and and Alfred will go, "Well, what about me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, I'll get to you, maybe around midnight." You know. And I don't want to be that person.
Well, there's the next song that you guys write together then,
Yeah,
after the dishes and the
yeah,
the homework and the practice and the all the
yeah.
things. I'll get to you, you know.
That could be a funny song, though. I have
That
to
could be
think
a
about
funny
that.
song.
Yeah, I got all this stuff. I'll get to you. You're on the list.
You're on
You know,
the
you're on the list. Checking it off. Okay.
I bet you guys could write that song really well together. So perhaps this is a good moment. You were mentioning, and I don't know if this is what you decided to do for this week, but this is, of course, Tomes and Tunes, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a time for songwriters to talk about something that they're reading. So I have two questions for you. The first one is, what are you reading right now? And the second one afterwards is, will you share something? Some
Yeah.
piece. Yeah.
So I used to do some acting a while ago, actually, to just be a little freer. So I did some improv and had some opportunities to do some things. And I think it's a good thing for everybody to experience that, to dig in and be freer and interpret other characters, because we're always trying to learn our truths. And sometimes it's a wonderful thing to explore somebody else's truth that perhaps a writer has captured. This
Mm.
book here is called The Intent to Live, and it's by Larry Moss, who, this guy is actually an acting coach. I'm reading this particular part. He talks about a lot of the actors that he worked with, and I just thought this was fascinating, and it kind of has something to do with what we were talking about before. He talks about having worked with Helen Hunt in that movie, um, As Good as It Gets, and she was a waitress. Now, if you can envision the way Helen moved in that particular movie, he says, "What I suggested was a technique that was created by the teacher Chekhov to find the center of energy in the character's body. So I asked Helen, 'What does your character do for a living?' She said she was a full time waitress. So I asked her where the center of her body's energy was as a waitress, and she said, 'In my feet.' So we suggested that she pull all of her energy into her feet as far away from her brain as she could get, and we agreed that she should try to walk as though her feet were the main energy of her survival. And almost instantly, the character was born." And it goes on and on. And he breaks down a lot of characters that he has worked with, and that's the way they process the person to get to the heart of it. And if you watch how she walks in that, and I've been a waitress, a very bad waitress, I may say, but a waitress nonetheless. She's stumbling along. She's wearing the sensible shoes. She's tired. She shows it. And I related to that a lot because I'm starting to wear sensible shoes these days too myself. And I was thinking, where is the source of my energy? Is it in my heart? Like I would like to think it is, may not be though all the time. Or am I really locked in my an analytical part, or is it in my back, or is it in my where is my energy these days, and can I move it? And I think that has to do with a yoga practice of being
Mm.
able to move energy through your body.
I love that. Sharman, I'm wondering, you didn't ask in that list of where's your energy, you didn't you didn't say, is it in my fingers? And I
Yeah.
was kind of waiting for you to say that. Is it in
Hmm.
my hands as a piano player?
You know, I never think about that the energy's in my fingers because I don't think about it like that, you know. I think whatever is going to come out musically is going to come out what I have is free enough to come out. Is
Huh.
free to come out. So if I'm like, and I'm afraid I'm going to miss that, or, you know, that type of thing.
Yeah.
That's a head thing, you know. That's a head thing. That's not a finger thing. Unless I just want to keep it real simple, and that's fine too, because some wonderful songs are there. But if I'm going for something else and I'm saying, I'm afraid I'm going to miss it, you know, then it's in my shoulders and it's in my back, but it's very much in my head. Um,
And it's in, I think you're saying
Interesting.
that it's in like the thinking, processing part of your head, not your ears
That's
part of your
right.
head.
Yeah.
So
Although
interesting to think about.
you're trying to allow your ears to, it's kind of like you're trying to have this flow, and if something is blocking it, it's going to feel uncomfortable. I know when I was taking improv, it was hard for me to be away from the piano. I had been playing racks of keyboards, this and that and the other thing. To be away from the piano, my God, I was like, I was like, what do I do? What do I do with my hands here?
Yeah.
What do I do? It was traumatic. But when I did it and allowed myself to be uncomfortable, awkward, um, just to get over that sense of like, oh, I feel stupid. Oh, I didn't do that good enough. That person's a lot better than me.
Yeah.
You start to realize that all of that chatter is meaningless. It's meaningless. It's just about the experience and taking in what you can, you know.
Yeah.
I found it. That's why I love this book so much because he talks about working with a lot of different actors trying to find that they're trying to find the truth of the character and they're approaching it from a physical
It's
aspect.
such an
Where
interesting thing to think about.
it is. I
Yeah.
love this book. You could see here I
Yeah.
I I have, you know, bookmarks for everything. But yeah,
You know what I was thinking about the other day? Of course, as you know, I've been teaching yoga for a long time, and of course, when everything closed down, I started teaching live yoga classes, but through Zoom.
yeah.
And so right now, I'm teaching 6 days a week. And when I was in the studio teaching you know, with a room full of physical bodies and everybody was moving and we were all breathing and I moved around the room a lot. I was constantly circling around the room through the mats, just moving through the space. And I
Mm,
used my arms a lot when I would talk about like inhale up and exhale and like
yeah.
and sometimes I felt like I was almost conducting. I'm a classically trained woodwind player, and so I spent a lot of time in orchestras and bands up
Mm,
until my early 20s. And I just found that as a yoga teacher, that was sort of when I wasn't in the poses that I was calling out for the students, I had to embody them somehow. Even if I wasn't in them, I had to embody the movement of them. So I would move my body in that way. And I noticed that now that I've been teaching yoga on Zoom, it's like if I'm not actually practicing with the class,
mm,
I had to figure out you know, how do I move through those poses? They don't make any sense to me when it's just language, when it's just the word of the pose. I can't remember the sequence.
yeah, I can understand
It
that.
doesn't
Yeah,
make any sense. But when I've
yeah,
like embodied it,
yeah.
then I can
It's
do it.
like the whole online experience is still so bizarre to me. I mean, it's one thing to take a Zoom class, but the first time I did the online concert, I thought, "Oh my God, I can't deal with this." I'm
Yeah.
seeing, I'm seeing hands clapping, hearts flying around. I was telling my husband, and he's like, "I said, why don't you come on?" He goes, "No, no, no, I can't do that," because he's been playing it since the 50s of the city. It's just, it's a strange thing. So you have
Yeah.
to be very settled within yourself, but
Yeah.
you may not realize that for me, a lot of the freedom that I have come to feel actually comes from performing. It's just it's an exchange with an audience. So when it's
Totally.
not there, I'm really on my own, and
Yeah.
I'm starting to become See, I'm just figuring out why I've been saying I've been struggling with this. It's because it's forcing me into too much of a cerebral place
Yeah.
instead of dropping into it, which is where I like to go. You know.
Yeah. I can totally relate absolutely to what you're saying. That was one of the that was a I've been doing these tomes and tunes for 25 weeks now, and my on Fridays I've been doing my Arielle's acoustic happy hour for the last this will be week 27 tomorrow. And I'm still not I'm more comfortable with it now than I was in the beginning. I'm still not fully comfortable with it,
Mm-hmm.
but I've noticed that there has been a shift. At the beginning, it felt really strange to sing and to look in the chat box, but to I don't know. There's a lot. It's a conversation. It's like a dialogue that you're having with the audience when there's a real person in front of you, which is one of the things I like about the Tomes and Tunes show, is that
Yeah.
you're here. It's like in
Yeah.
conversation with someone, and so there's that
Yeah.
feedback. Um, but yeah, those live concerts, online concerts are
They're challenging.
they're
Yeah.
strange. Yeah.
And you have played clarinet on some of your tunes on earlier
Yeah.
albums. Am I right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I like that. I might send something to you because yeah, that'd be nice. 'Cause I really don't know any really good clarinet players. So I may if you
I,
still play. Do you?
I do still play. I played it
Yeah.
actually. The song I'm going to play at the end of the show today on the new album. It's the
Yeah.
only song that I put clarinet on. But yeah, I still play.
That's
Um,
right. That's right. Because I have your CD. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's Only Forever, and that's the one that there's a little bit of clarinet on.
Yeah.
Um, um, I picked up this book, which is Terry Tempest Williams. The is the author, and the book is When Women Were Birds, and I've read a little bit of it, and I don't know what happened, but I got distracted along the way and kind of went down another path. And then last night I picked it up again. It's so lovely, and I thought I would share the first
Yeah.
chapter, which is all of a page.
Mhm.
um, and the subtitle of this book, so it's called When Women Were Birds, which it's so evocative for me. And then the subtitle is 54 Variations on Voice
Hmm.
by Terry Tempest Williams. So this is taking a bit of a turn from what we've been talking about. Um, I am 54 years old, the age my mother was when she died. This is what I remember. We were lying on her bed with a mohair blanket covering us. I was rubbing her back, feeling each vertebra with my fingers as a rung on a ladder. It was January, and the ruthless clamp of cold bore down on us outside. Yet inside, Mother's tenderness and clarity of mind carried its own warmth. She was dying in the same way she was living, consciously. I am leaving you all my journals, she said, facing the shuttered window as I continued rubbing her back. But you must promise me that you will not look at them until after I am gone. I gave her my word, and then she told me where they were. I didn't know my mother kept journals. A week later she died. That night there was a full moon encircled by ice crystals. On the next full moon, I found myself alone in the family home. I kept expecting Mother to appear. Her absence became her presence. It was the right time to read her journals. They were exactly where she said they would be, 3 shelves of beautiful cloth-bound books, some floral, some paisley, others in solid colors. The spines of each were perfectly aligned against the lip of the shelves. I opened the first journal. It was empty. I opened the second journal. It was empty. I opened the third. It, too, was empty, as was the fourth, the fifth, the sixth. Shelf after shelf after shelf, all my mother's journals were blank.
Mm. Mm.
And I believe, although like I said, I only made it a little bit into the book before I got lost along the way and have now found myself back, but I believe it's her exploration, trying to understand her mother, working with that idea of presence and absence and what we know about someone and what we don't know about someone. But when I picked it up last night, I thought, oh, I want to share this because it feels so, it feels evocative for me. It feels so weighty, that first chapter.
Yeah. I used to do a lot more journal writing than I do now, but I do have them all in one place with strict orders that when I'm gone, burn them, please. They gotta burn because, they're my private thoughts. I'm not sure I really want anybody to be inside of it. But what I particularly like about what you just read is that they were beautiful journals bound in different ways with different floral prints and carefully chosen and yet empty. But the books themselves, there's something I absolutely love about a beautiful journal.
Hmm.
And
Every
I buy
single
them
one
with,
of. Go ahead.
oh, no,
No.
I said I buy them with good intention. Oh, this is going to make me write every day, but I don't always do it. So,
That's so interesting. Because I have 49 volumes of my journals right here, and
oh,
nearly all of them look exactly like this, just blank, boring sketchbooks. Um, very occasionally, I mean, really only about, I think, 3 times did I try to buy a nicer kind of journal. This isn't that nice, but it has like a
yeah,
hard
yeah,
cover and everything, and I felt intimidated by the
something,
loveliness of the book itself. That my
yeah.
thoughts inside are just too messy. My handwriting, everything is too
Mm.
messy.
Well, when I go down to Miami, because we have a place, I haven't been there in a while because of the pandemic, but we do have a place on the water. And I just love just taking a basket of different books. Sometimes I have just idioms, metaphors, a rhyme book, or whatever I need, and a journal, and just start to see what comes out. Usually, that's where I would really get some very good lyrical ideas.
Yeah,
Just in the morning when no one is there, it's like it's joy. It's just sheer joy,
yeah,
especially when something comes out of it. And then I have some stuff back in the apartment, the garage band, a little setup that I can just at least get the idea out.
yeah.
And boy, that really carries me. I just love that feeling.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love hearing about that. That sounds so lovely. Charmin, would you bless us with
Oh.
a little bit of a song?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So it's nice just to know you're listening. I feel like you're gonna soften the blow. So this song is it's about um, many women that don't have children. Some of us have raised other people's children. Some of us wanted our own. It didn't happen, and it's about where we're at now, not the pain of what we might have thought then, but where we're at now with that feeling. My life is full. I never had the time to have a child or a family of mine. Too busy living my priority. A relative or friend may call, who needs to get away from it all. Drop off the kids, enjoy the release. I put their mind at ease. Someone else's children on my knee. Someone else's joy, not meant for me. And if I had my own, I would not be free. With someone else's children on my knee. I give them undivided attention. I escape to a child's dimension, pretend that I'm a cowgirl, queen, or clown. Sometimes we'll read to feed a curious smile. Sometimes we'll color outside the line. Build Lego castles, then knock them down. Make a mess upon the ground. Someone else's children on my knee. Someone else's joy, not meant for me. And if I had my own, I would not be free. To have someone else's children, someone else's children on my knee. Sometimes I question the life I'm building, 'cause I was raised to believe a gal's supposed to have children. I wasn't meant to be in for the whole game. And I'm not angry, sad, nor bitter. Lots of kids need a pinch hitter. Career and travel, I stake my claim. No child has my name. Someone's children on my knee. Someone else's joy, not meant for me. If I had my own, I would not be free. To have someone else's children on my knee. Someone else's children on my knee. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh, Sharman, thank you. You know, there are just some things that are I mean, I'm just thinking about art, like the passage that I just read about her mother and the journals and that relationship, and this song that you just played. I feel like these kinds of stories are stories that we really need to hear. You know, not just there's something about pop culture that simplifies the narratives of people's lives,
Mm.
particularly for women.
Mm-hmm.
And the simplification by that process, cuts off the other things that are complicated, the other stories, and your song, which is just like this snappy little number that I'm singing along to and like tapping my feet and singing the tensions over the chords and but at its heart is telling the story of these other women who are frequently not part of the story of women. It's really awesome. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. When I was performing it, when I would do the show, the Bloom show, I have interesting responses from women who would boldly come up and say, "I never wanted kids," and that's fine. I never wanted kids, and that's fine. But then other people who would come up in tears, saying, yeah, you really struck a nerve with that. And some people were a little sad. They were like, I don't want to feel this sad. And then other people, I have different reactions. But see, where does songs come from? I don't know where that just. I can't remember where that song came from, but obviously it's because I remember when I used to really love playing with kids when the grandkids would come over, the kids would come over. And I often wonder why we don't give ourselves. I don't go to the park anymore. I don't go on the merry-go-round. I could, nothing's stopping me. I don't play with color form. I don't play badminton in the backyard. Kids let you do that. I don't like a mess, but if they came over and built a Lego castle, I don't care if they knock it down. It goes all over the place. It's a sort of an indulgence of freedom that once it's over, it's kind of sad.
Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing that makes you realize you're an adult more than being around kids.
Or else the first time you realize you're not at the kids' table when you go to a wedding and you're at the adults' table, and then you're like, this is so boring. I
I
want to
know
go
you're kind of
sit.
like rubbernecking, like, what's going on over there? What are they talking about? What are they eating? I want noodles with just butter on them rather than
Yeah, it's so true.
mushrooms.
It's so true. so,
Too funny.
so I'm looking forward to hearing your song.
Well, I was on the fence when we
Mm.
met today in the just before the show. But when I heard you play a little bit of that before we went live, I thought, okay, this is the song I'm going to play. This is actually the song that I just have to do a little tuning first.
Hmm.
But this is actually the song that Darby, on my way in here, I said, what should I play? And he said, play this one. So,
Good.
but it's topically related. Also a song that I feel I needed to write. It's not my story directly. It's the story of a woman that I know who lost her child when he
Oh.
was 11 years old. And
Oh.
but when she told me her story, it hit parts of my own grief about other things that I just really related to the emotional piece of it, and the way that
Mm.
when she told me the story, I think she was in her 70s, and she was telling me about her when she was younger, and her kids were
Mm.
growing up, and she was telling me that her son had died when he was 11, and how much grief, of course, she felt in those early years, but over the decades, how that grief had changed, and how she, as a writer and as an artist, had the grief through her writing and art had transformed into something that was a form of healing for other people. As much as we don't want to be part of a grief community of any kind, inevitably we become part of grief communities as we get older, right? It's just loss is so much a part of life. And you know, I loved how she as an artist was able to take her grief and transform it into a source of healing for other people. And so that was what inspired this song, which is Only Forever, and it's the one with clarinet on the new
Oh,
album.
great. Should I mute myself?
Oh yeah,
Can I?
go ahead. Yeah. Or I can mute you for you.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
There we go. Although I don't think I'm not hearing the planes on your side. The problem is the planes on my side. I waited for you. I waited for you. A long time, stood outside the schoolyard. The swings twisting in the wind. I prayed for you. I prayed for you. A long time to chase you in the park. I tried to catch you in a sprint. Things I know but cannot explain. How life is measured by what you lose and what you gain. And how to fight for what you treasure. Let it go when it's time to surrender. How I love you only forever. You came to me. You grew up tall and gangly. I taught you how to swim. I taught you everything I know. But maybe God was lonely, or fate knew all along I'd protect you with my life. But Lord knows I'm not that strong. And things I know but cannot explain. Life is measured by what you lose and what you gain. And how to fight for what you treasure. Let it go when it's time to surrender. And how I love you only forever. They say wounds yield a purpose, and cracks bring the light. All I know is stone on the earth, angel in the sky. Things I know but cannot explain. How life is measured by what you lose and what you gain. And how to fight for what you treasure. Let it go when it's time to surrender. And how I love you only forever. And there you go.
Yeah. You took me there. Wow, beautiful. And you are a hell of a whistler, I want to tell you that.
I
But
can't play clarinet and play guitar at the same time, so. Uh,
I was thinking that this concept, I almost did an excerpt from an Anne Lamott book of where she talks a lot about grief.
mm,
And then I thought, oh no, I'm not going to go there. But
mm,
but isn't it something that the journey of loving someone and they're not here and you just go on loving them, you know, regardless of whether they're not here but living someplace else, or they're not talking to you, or they passed away, and but you go that the experience of love, you just go on loving them. And
yeah,
isn't that, I just think that's incredible. That,
yeah.
yeah. And you there's a whole, and you have learned how to, I started writing a song once talking about that, and I just haven't finished. I don't know how to say it, but there's the whole, and you're literally just dancing around the hole, sort of, not getting too close, but
Mm,
sometimes you want to get close. But that feeling of love never dies. It never does.
I love that idea of dancing around that hole.
And you captured that so beautifully in that song.
Mm,
Beautiful.
thank you. I
Uh,
had a little help with that song by two artists. They don't realize that they helped me. One was Mary Oliver, the poet.
mm,
Her poem, I think it's the In Blackwater Woods is the poem. And the other help I had was from a visual artist, Rick Barteau, who is a Native American sculptor and painter. And
mm,
I had just finished having that conversation with that woman the day before, and then that was on the East Coast, and I flew back home to LA. And the
mm,
next day I had her story in my head, and I really felt like I needed to figure out how to express what I was trying to express in song. And Darby and the girls and I went to a local museum, the Autry Museum, which is the Museum of the American West, which is it brings all the different communities of the West, the cowboys
mm,
and the Indians,
mm,
and all of the native people and the people who moved here later into this museum. And there was an exhibit called it wasn't called the things I can't things I know but can't explain. It that wasn't exactly the name of the exhibit, but it was something similar to that. And I walked through the exhibit of this painter and sculptor and was just so moved by his stuff. And meanwhile, my friend's story was in my head, and Mary Oliver was in my head. And it's interesting how this is what happens with art. It's like we just kind of swirl everything together and then create a new something out of that. So
I do love to have the scraps of paper where the germ of the idea came. I save
yeah,
all of them. And it's just, the process is so fascinating that it's just started with this little scribble of an
yeah,
idea, and it's like upside down and inside out, and
yeah,
but that's where the germ of the idea, it always is the journey, in everything it's always the journey, which I so appreciate more now than ever before, if you just trust yourself, I'm going there. um, Inevitably you change, and it's so nice to know that you can change, that you,
yeah.
no matter what age, you haven't stagnated, that you can change, you can grow, you can adapt, you can, yeah.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about that word, adaptability, and how it's the, embedded into the idea of adaptability is a willingness to adapt. Because if you have the capability on every other level, but you lack the willingness, then you are no longer adaptable. You can't.
Yeah.
It's like that
So,
willingness is sort of like that key that turns the lock that allows you to
yeah.
adapt to changing circumstances, and to find that dance around that love. And you
Yeah.
know
And
yeah,
even losing somebody is, if you allow it to help you adapt,
yeah,
I do believe you're going to come out a different person, and more, your senses are heightened, and rather than be bitter, you can really grow to a better place. I believe that. So because I've seen a lot of people that just stay bitter, stay angry,
Yeah.
stay sad,
We
and
have that choice too. We can become bitter and angry and sad.
yeah,
And when it comes down to it, when I think about that, I'm like, Arielle, you can do that. You have that choice.
that's
And
your
I think, well,
choice.
I'm the one that would have to live with that. I don't want to live with a bitter, angry,
That's
sad
true.
person all the time.
It's true. Plus, people who love you are saddened by your choice, but there is a point where people will say, "I can't do anything about it." That's
Yeah.
you know. So, well, we're into a very spiritual zone right now, but I do think these are troubling times, but I do think they're very spiritual times
I
too.
agree with you
I do.
100%. Yeah, I do agree with you, Sharman. Sharman,
Mm.
thank you so much for talking with me today. What a rich conversation on so many levels. My mind is blown, my heart is full. I feel really grateful.
Likewise. Thank
Yeah,
you so much. Thank you. I'm
thank
honored
you.
to be here. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
And for everybody else, I hope that you will check out the show notes. I have a link to Sharman's website. She has a group called the Bloomers, and she is so fascinating in and of herself, and her own journey, but also she likes to empower people to to continue to grow and learn and change and explore the pieces of life that they're curious about. She's really an inspiring woman. So I hope that you will find her links in the show notes and her music online. Of course, I have my Tomes and Tunes Spotify playlist that I've been putting together, and Charmin right now is at the top of that playlist, so you can listen to that. Um, Next week, I am grateful to invite in a West Coast songwriter, Dulcie Taylor. She will be for our Tomes and Tunes number 26 guest. And I hope you will join me next week, same time, or watch the replays. And tomorrow, every Friday, I have my Arielle's Acoustic Happy Hour at 5:30 Pacific. That's every Friday. So hope to see you. Please stay safe and sound, and have a lovely rest of your day. Take good care.